How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at Scrub Games, and I'm back once again with a deck profile, and this one being my Android 13 list that I took to the webcam locals, and also I'm also using in the next game for the webcam, not webcam locals, the Scrub Games League, DBS League we've got going. Because I'm trying to take a different deck for each week, so that way I can give different outlooks into the games and also different matchups. I think I've almost played a different deck each time as well, apart from I think I've had 2 repeats of a deck that I've gone against, but that's not too bad. Still, it provides some quite good and interesting gameplay, so keep a lookout for that if you're interested in Android 13. Want to see more of it being played other than my webcam locals. But yeah, I'm going to go over the list and kind of give a breakdown to the deck in itself, and also this is changed a little bit as well from it. I've made like some slight changes. But I'm going to go over my list and explain the deck, and then go over the turn-by-turn progression as well. Like give us the best information I can about the decks to help you if you're looking to play it. And if you have any questions about any suggestions, feel free to hit them down in the comments. I always like seeing suggestions because it's not always things I think of, and some people can point out things I don't think of and then implement it. It could be amazing, could be not too bad, but then still, it's always nice to share and help each other out. But before we get into that, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out with the channel greatly. We're currently 2/3 of the way to our goal of 1,000 subs, and every little sub goes to help, and we appreciate you. And also, we still got a giveaway going that ends at the end of this month, being April, that you can jump into as well. And if you want to keep updated with my videos, you can always hit the notification bell in the somewhere on YouTube, that gives you alerts to when my videos do drop, so you can watch it straight away, or at least be notified that my video is out. And I do up to like 2 to 3 or even 3 to 4 weekly. So if you want content, I'm putting out a decent amount. But without that all out the way, let's go and have a look at the list and see what we've got. So this is the list I, well, technically took. I did have one small change, oh, there was some small changes from the list I actually had. Like, as you can see on the list, I have one of the TP promo Android 14 and 15, and I have 2 of the yellow Android 14. That is changed. I have decided since then to want to include a second copy of the yellow one, because even though it's taken away from more red cards, there's still plenty of red cards. But I feel that Android 14 is just very good in the deck. When you see into it, it's not really searchable by any means in the deck. I also had a different overrealm, being the secret identity instead of this SS4 Vegeta, and we'll go over why that was when we get to that part in the list. But so far, this is the list, so if you want to stop there and just go and play and don't want to listen to explanation about the cards and how to play it, go ahead. Also link to this deck Deck Planet link, that's it, Deck Planet links, they're the best deck building website in the game and the only deck building website in the game. If you want to go check that out and check out the list, test it on OwnTap, go ahead, it's down below in the description. But if you want to understand a deck and come from me on a journey through Android 13, then feel free to keep going. So, we'll start off with the lead. So the lead is pretty nice. It is pretty nice because it has some very good consistency. And with the lead, it's got like a unique thing that not many decks have, but some decks do, where on the front side, it's not actually a character, it's just Jiro's supercomputer, so the computer that made Cell and stuff like that. And because of that, because it's like an inanimate object, it can't really move, it's got the permanent where it can attack. So you're not attacking with the lead on the front side, even though it's 10k, but 10k being good, being not too bad to defend yourself with. But it does have a way to gain advantage by its activate main, which is switch this card to rest mode as the cost. And you get look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add up to any one red android among them to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So as any android, no cost restriction on that effect, just any red android you see, so it gives you a good amount of targets. Like you're almost never going to whiff on there. If you do whiff, you're very unlucky, but it's not often that ever happens. And it's also got an Awaken that has an alternative one and a standard one. So standard is it when your life's 4 or less, what criteria you need to meet, just 4 or less life, or for the alternative way, you need to have 2 or more energy, and 1 or more Android 14 and Android 15 cards, both red and with an energy cost of 1 in your battle area and or drop. So you either need to have a 1 drop Android 4, you need to have one of either both on the board, both in your drop, or 1 each in your drop and board. That's very easy to do because we'll come to what the 1 drops do in a bit. But if you fill either of those conditions, 4 less life or those alternative conditions, you then get to switch this card to active mode, untap 1 your energy, and then take your life down to 6 if you're at a higher life than 6, which it's pretty good. 6 is not too bad. Like it's not. There's no 5. Come on, it's no 5, but it is pretty good still taking yourself down to 6, because then you're closer to getting yourself down to 4, so you can go into your Z lead, which we'll get in a second as well. Now, when you flip over, you're now on Android 13, so now your things like your Android 14 Stoic Fist and your Android Troop 14 and 15 are now live, because remember those cards need Android 13, and you only need that when you're awakened. And it's now got two autos. So the first one is just how you get advantage with most of them, which is when this card attacks, you get to choose one or two effects. So you've got the standard effect being the second one, being just draw a card. Most leaders have this. But you've got the ever effect, which you can use if you want to. It's not often you use this because the one drops don't gain as good advantage from this side of the lead than you would if you're Z lead. And that is play up to one red Android 14, one Android 14 or 15 card, both red and energy cost of one from your hand. So you get to play out these one drops, and it's not always the best thing. Normally, I've been just drawing a card off it, but unless you want to suck, unless you don't care about just drawing just a draw in a card, and want to just thin your deck and get that consistency going, you can play the one drops up. They come quite handy, especially because you want to have your androids in your Z energy, and you need certain ones in there for certain effects. That could be handy in that way. So that is that first auto, so that's how you get advantage. Then you got the second auto being place one Android card from your Z energy in its owner's drop as the cost, so sack off a Z energy, as an Android card from your Z energy. And then when you and the trigger of this is when you play an Android card, add up to one red Android card from your drop to your Z energy. So that allows you to like sort out your androids, because you need certain androids for certain effects in your Z energy to help them trigger. So that is the full thing of the leader. So it doesn't seem that like that amazing from the leader, but still, he's the Trucker Hat Android 13, and he's such a cool character. Even though he's just got a movie one. Hopefully, there's a way like how they brought Broly into Dragon Ball Super. They could do that with some of the other movie characters. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, that's the leader. So now we're going to go into some of the other cards and start off with the ones that start off our little A Way to Awaken. Now it's a one drop, so we got two one drops, being Android 14 Mechanical Assault and Android 15 Mechanical Assault. These are two one drops. They both have the same effect, just a different characters. So we just open one. So this has just got an effect where if your leader's a red android and all your energy is mono red, this kind of sucks. I do dislike that restriction, even though it's fair enough. Do hate it because when this first came out, I was on like a red high, like a red yellow deck high. Like I wanted to play any red deck I could, red yellow, and this is why I didn't play this, even though I like Android 13 and I do like my red decks as well. I didn't pick this up when it first came out because of the fact that I was on a red yellow high. I wanted to put red yellow on everything because all my resistance is just a great counter, and the red yellow kind of like core that you can put in any red deck is quite good, quite fun. But because this had the restriction of needing all your energy to be mono red, it kind of put me off this deck because of that small little thing. But since then, I've kind of like come around to it and eventually went out and tried it. But yeah, with that restriction, you then get the when this card is played, choose one or two effects. So if your leader is a red Android 13 Z leader, draw one card. So that's why this is more beneficial to play this out when you're a Z lead, because you don't actually draw a card of this. But if you're not a Z lead, then you have the other effect of add up to one Android 15 mechanical assailant from your deck to your hand and shuffle your deck. So 14 looks for 15, 15 looks for 14. This is a way how they easily get awakened alternatively rather than the wait they get a 4 life. So yeah, that is what these cards do. So you play four copies of it because you want to find these cards off the lead or opening with them, so you can get that awakening as soon as possible, so you can actually gain advantage, actually push some attacks in and stuff as well. And also, a nice thing to go with that was we've got the Unison package as well. We got over here. So we got the Unison package with 4 of the SS4 Gogeta. Yep, Unison. And we got 1 Yamcha because it's limit to 1, and we also got 2 Wolf and Fist to go with it because it's such a great extra card with the Unison package. And this Gogeta is just almost like a mainstay for most red decks, because most red decks have a one drop you can play off it, and it's just a great one. And just when it comes down, it instantly replaces itself by looking at top 3 to find something. Then it plays out your one drops to help get you like rules, searches, things like that to be useful. Even like in this deck, you can start your Unions Orb Chain, which we'll get into not in like a little bit. But yeah, this is just a great Unison package, and also end up being a +2 Unison instead of a +1 means it's gaining more and more markers, and then it has a great way to finish off with its -4, being able to swing and give 15k double strike for the attack, which is pretty good. So this is just, yeah, I don't see, unless this gets it, this is going to be a mainstay in most, like if you don't want to run a 2 cost or scared of black smoke, or you want a more longer lasting one, you can go a little bit further. Then you go Baby Unison. Red so far has like got some great Unisons like this Baby Unison. You've also got the Vegeta as a good side deck Unison for most red decks if you go in the longer game. Pretty good. Red has just some good Unisons, and Yamcha being just, yeah, a limited, because they're just kind of coming down now on some of these free cat plays, banning the blue one, limiting the red one, and leaving the other two Farrakhan's green cannon. Yeah, green's not doing anything, but it needs his freezer, and the yellow one's just trash. But yep, that's the unison package we're playing, because it's just a great one. Normally turn 2 you want to come this down and put that second one down. So turn 1 you normally want to, well, we'll go over the turn progression in a bit, but normally this helps with the second turn 2. Then we've got our free drops. We've got Android 14 Uninvited Guest, Android 15 Uninvited Guest, and Android 14 and 15 The Invaders. So these are the ones that kind of like come down for cheap and have a way to force your opponent to lose that, like lose some of their board or let you play these out and draw. So start off with basically the same, just got some different effects in their main part, but they've all got the same. Well, the Android 14 and 15 have the same um, activate main slash battle. The one as a duo, the TP, has a slight difference in that what is needed to bring down, and also that it doesn't draw. So the TP doesn't draw, but these two can. So they've got the same activate main slash battle limit 1 for 1. If your leader is a red Android 13 and you have 2 or more energy and a red Android 15 card and use the energy, so once again, another card that requires you to be an Android 13. So you need to, yes, we want to awaken as soon as possible. So you're actually an Android 13 to trigger some of these effects. And yeah, so 14 needs 15 in the ZNG, 15 needs 14 in the ZNG. This is why Auto on the lead is great to switch them back in your ZNG. And then you get, your opponent can either choose two of their battle cards and have them go on as 20k power for the turn. If they don't do that, you get a draw card and play this card out. So that's quite good. Now, as I said, the TP one doesn't draw, and also the TP one requires an under 13 in your energy. So 14 requires 15, 15 requires 14, and the duo require 13 in Z energy, and it doesn't draw. So the good thing about this, if your opponent has 2 battle cards they can choose, if they've got, it's a combination. If they've only got 1 battle card in the battle area, they can't choose because you have to choose exactly 2. If they've only got 1, then you're going to get the draw and play this out. If they've got none, once again, draw and play this out. If they got 2, but one of them has barrier, they cannot choose that by your effects. That way they can't fulfill targeting choosing 2. So that way you get to play this out and draw. But if they have 2 and they do choose, then this card will go to drop, and it'll minus those cards by 20, or minus those cards by 20k, and this card will go to drop. So do be careful of that. So normally, if your opponent doesn't have much on the board, you're going to be dropping this. If they do have stuff, they're either going to be losing their board, or they can't choose cards due to barrier and stuff like that. But yeah, these are pretty good. And the Android 14 is a blocker with an auto, where if you have a red Android 15 in your CNG at the end of the turn, which hopefully you've got from being able to play this, you untap this at the end of your turn and have it as a blocker. And the Android 15, we'll get to that one, which is more of a powerhouse, where when this card attacks, it gets 5k power for the turn. So the 14's defensive, the Android 15 is more aggressive. And then the TP1 doesn't really have any other skills, it's just got deflect and dual attack. And this gun can come in handy, where it's got deflect, because you get some decks like Gamma and stuff like that, where they can have counter plays to stop you from playing them, which with the everyone's not having deflect, they will stop you from getting it, and you won't have to worry. Well, you then stop from being able to actually do anything, because remember the limit once, you can only activate one once a turn. But being activate main slash battle, you can activate in your turn or your opponent's turn, which is great. But this card's just got deflect and dual attack, which is great for just coming down on unisons that have like defense and counter plays back behind them. So this one can be handy. That's why we only include 1, because you can always search it as well from leader and stuff like that. But I didn't want to cut this one, but there was not much so I actually wanted to cut. But yeah, decided this one was not as great, and you can always side more of these in or go over 50, but I just didn't like to go over 50. So that's mainly for the Android 14, 15 red cards. And we got the chain of to go in your Union Orb. So we'll start with the 1-drop, being Android 13 Uninvited Guest. And he is a nice little search as well. So when he's played, he's got an auto. When it's played, you look at top 5 cards of your deck, add up to any Android with energy cost of 3 or less. Not red one, just any, but it's 3 or less among them, and shuffle them. Add it to your hand to shuffle the deck. So this can look for your Android troop, but it's unfortunately 1 cost less to find your Stoic Fist. So it can't find Stoic Fist, but it can find any other Android 3 or less that you want to search, because you don't really want to search the big ones. You want the big ones to be in your deck. And it's got the useful Union Sword, which is once per turn just for 1 energy. If you lead an red Android 13 card, your opponent has 3 or more energy, so you got to wait quite late in the game. And you place 1 Android 14 and 1 Android 15 card from your drop on the discard. You get to play 1 Android 13 card, which costs a 7 from your deck, on top of this card in active mode, and shuffle your deck. And the fantastic thing with this is that it plays, where the Unison plays this card out in rest mode, off its +1, off its +2. You get to play this out in rest mode, get the auto, and then use the effect, tap 1, put 2 underneath it from the drop, and 14, 15. and then get to play it in active mode. So even though it's playing it in rest mode, you still be able to actually swing with this, which is quite cool. Like I think in one game I actually swung with this just so I can get the a card and drop, so I can combo with a card, get and drop, and get the Z energy as well, and then yeah, bring the card out in active mode, which is quite handy. And it's just any 7 cost Android 13, and since we've got quite like some old ones and stuff, you can use some other techs that are quite interesting, like we'll see in a bit. But yeah, this is not how to start a chain, and yeah, well need your opponent to be turn 3. Either you're playing it your turn 3 if you're going second, or your turn 4 if you're going first. And normally when you're dropping this, start doing these effects, you're normally dropping at least 2 and get a ton of attacks in, which I'll go over when we go over the turn by turn play. And yeah, we play 4 copies of that, and we only, as I said, we're playing 4 copies of everything apart from the TP so far. And well, and the one of Yamcha and the 2 of Wolfman Fist. And then we've got the targets, so we've got 3 of the red Android 13 and 1 of the old set 9 multicolored Android 17, which we'll go over right in a bit. First, we'll cover the 7 drop, so this one's a really nice one. In that it's got deflect and double strikes. It's got deflect, protect itself, only 25k, but it's not too bad. That's still pretty decent. And double strike built in. It also has a nice little permanent where if an Android 13 card is under this card gains dual attack and isn't affected by the skills of Saiyan cards with 20k power or less in any of your opponent's areas. That's pretty decent. And then we've got the auto. When this card attacks, which if you've got dual attack, this can be on both attacks, which is pretty cool. Use up to 1 card from your from under this card in the combo with the skills to get it for the turn. Then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards or unisons, and it gets 25k power for the turn. So this is fantastic. Being able to push at least a 30k double at anything, lead, unison, battle card, whichever you want to attack into, as long as you can attack into it. And also being a neg a battle card or unison by 25k. Minus by 25k is very, very good. Like it hits a fair few battle cards as long as it doesn't ignore barrier, but still. And also being able to just neg down unisons means you don't have to worry about a unison. You can just keep swinging at the leader, pump, chunking through, and just minus it as you go. Just get rid of it without needing to put any resources into attacking it. And if you don't play this off of your 1-drop, you can always play it out from the hand using the activate main, which is limit 1 for 2 energy. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, and you choose 114 and 115 in your battle area and or drops, play this card from your hand and place the chosen cards underneath it. So you've got a way to play it from hand, but remember doing it this way means you won't have an Android 13 underneath it because you're only putting Android 14 and 15 underneath it, so you won't be able to get the dual attack effect of this. And a good thing that I will go over is there's a reason why we play 2 copies of this Android 13 Villainous Threat, because this Villainous Threat is a handy way of it's got an auto which is never going to trigger, which is when this card is played, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with 10k power or less to KO it. You're rarely ever going to use that. It's more here for the activate main, which is limit 1. If your leader is a red Android 13 card and you place this card from your hand under a red Android card within your battle area, you get to return up to 1 red Android card with entry cost of 1 from your drop to your hand, and that's normally going to be grabbing your 1-drop Android 13. But this is relevant because when you activate the effect of this Android 13 and you swing with it, you're going to trigger dual attack. So at the end of the turn, you're going to be able to restand this to attack again. You're going to have that triggered. Then you're going to resolve your auto because you choose because you get to determine which effects resolve which when they resolve at the same time. So you're going to swing with the 7-drop, have dual attack trigger, so it restands at the end of the turn, so it's impending, and then you're going to trigger the auto. Then the combo with the Android 13 that you have underneath the 1-drop that you played out with from underneath it, combo with that. So now it loses dual attack, but dual attack is already triggered, so it's still restand. And now it's got no dual attack anymore, and it's come to 13, so it has finished the attack, restands due to the dual attack that was impending, and then you activate the Android 13 Villainous Threat to then put itself underneath it, so an Android 13 is back underneath it, and get that Android 13 back from your drop that you've hopefully got in there, or you at least combo with if you didn't send it to CNG, or everyone that's in there. And then now it gains a new instance of dual attack because it's got a new Android 13 underneath it, so they can then trigger dual attack again, means you can attack again, combo sunk underneath it, restand again, and you can essentially make it a triple attacker for a turn, but that's only once because limit 1. So on your turn 4, if you're going first, you're normally going to be able to drop 1 of these down, get 3 attacks out of it, meaning 3 30k double strikes that then minus link by 25k, and then play a second one out and get essentially 5 swings with 2 Android 17s, 7-drop Android 13s in a turn, which is very, very strong. I'll go over exactly the process of that, but that is kind of like a brief description of how it. And the other one we have is this Android 13 Adamantine Avenger. So this one is 30k double strength, so it's a little bit stronger than the ever one, but it kind of works out the same because you combo a card underneath it, and that's double strike at 25k. You're not going to use success, so you're never going to worry about energy source because you're never going to charge it. You're just going to make sure you want to put this back in your deck. And the main benefit of this is the fact it can recycle some of your cards, because if activate main was once per turn, if you lead this Android 13 card and you choose 3 Android cards and you drop it and place them at the bottom of your deck in any order, choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, KO it, then your opponent chooses 2 cards in hand and place them in the drop area. So this is very relevant because it essentially gives you a bit of hand control which you don't normally have in something like Red outside of Brody Crown. And it also allows you to recycle for your cards because you've got the Android troops, which are just, as long as you're Android 13 card, you can just reveal it from your hand, discard it, and then draw one. And so you can fill out your deck, you fill out your drop with them. But sometimes you want some of those back in your deck to reuse them again to draw through and have more targets back in your deck to make sure you're not decking out, because you can draw through a ton of your deck very quickly. And this is a nice way to just put them back. Also pop something in rest mode, like pop something so you don't have to worry about it. And then also make your opponent discard too. Like if you go back and watch my webcam locals for my first game, I managed to actually make really good use of this in using the Stoic Fist to swing to force him to use a floodgate to negate the attack and make it so it's easier putting down the 3 cards in hand. Then I was able to use Stoic Fist to make them discard 1, and then bring this Adamantine Avenger out to then use the effect to put 3 back and make them discard 2, so they have 0 cards in hand, so I can then push through an attack and not worry about them having to combo out of it, and then end up winning through time due to life. So this can come in really handy, and it's just a nice option. That's why when you're in 1, because it's just a nice little tech option to give you a bit of hand control if you need be. And if it survives, it survives. If it doesn't, you're recycling back your drop, your androids, to make sure you're not decking out as quickly, and also just ripping hand apart, which is cool. So that is the end of the Android, like the Android 13, 14, and 15 stuff, and the user package. Then we go on to, we got 2 copies of Android 17 fully freed. This is a nice little counter attack where you're trying to rush yourself down you're kind of really trying to rush yourself down the floor so you can Z-Awaken. So that way you're a Z lead and you've got a beneficial effect on the Z lead, which will go in a sec. And also now you're getting the draw off your 1-drop, so when you play them, you're now a Z lead, so you get the draw instead of having to search the other copy from your deck, because you will run out of them in your deck. And this is just handy free negate because it's got critical. It's got counter attack with limit 1 if you lead it as an Android 13 card and get the attack place card in rest mode. And it's a free cost, but with its permanent, if your leader is a red Android 13 Z leader, which is relevant because you want to get it as quick as possible, and you're at 3 or less life, you can activate his card's counter skill from your hand without paying his energy cost. So it kind of gives you, like how there is a rage in how Rage is in the Reds in general deck, this is basically this deck's version of Rage. But then instead of having block or a bit of block of it, it's just critical and comes in and rest. So you can 2 copies of this because it's searchable in most of the things, and if you don't need it early, you can charge it, and then for later in the game, you can, if you've got 1, it's very useful. Now we go into the non-red cards, being the Android 14 Stoic Fist. So this is a nice little handy one, and why I'm up to this 2 is just you want to get yourself down to 4 so you can Z-Awaken, or maybe even 3 so you can have the Android 17 live. And it's very handy, and just if your leader is Android 13 card, you choose this card in your hand and 1 Android 15 card in your hand and place them in the drop. So discard this in Android 15, which you've got plenty of targets of 15 to put in that you want to put in drop as well. Choose up to 2 cards in your life, add them to your hand, so you get to take up to 2 life if you want to. You can take 1, 0, or 2. You get the draw card as well, so you're replacing it in hand, as well as potentially taking life. And then you make your opponent choose 1 card in hand and discard it. So you get to give a bit of hand control, like I said, could be relevant with this as well. So you can give yourself a bit of hand control, and you can loop that with the 7 multicolor as well. And it's just really handy because where you take yourself down to 6 on your Alt Awaken, you then can use this to help yourself down to 4 so you can Z-Awaken as possible. So you have that more control and have more control of your life in that way. So I put 2 of these in because they're not searchable. And I've upped to the 2 because they're not searchable, and I feel like it's a very good card. And I never felt that anything clogged because you normally got loads of red androids that you don't really care about. Just like you got enough 1-drops that you just enough to recycle, enough to charge and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry about these being dead. And then you've got the Android Troop 14 and 15. This is one of the earliest anniversary boxes, I think it was. And it's just literally an activate main, place this card and you drop from your hand. If you lead as Android 13 card, draw 1. So it's like if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh!, these are your upstart goblins. So as soon as you're Android 13, you see one of these, discard it, draw 1. Discard it, draw 1. You'd finish your deck a lot quicker. So you're essentially playing a 46 card deck. So while most people like there with like 50 card decks, you'll do 46 card decks, and you're just deck winnings, deck winning. This is a great card, and definitely want four copies of them. Then for our super combo lineup, I've got 3 copies of Raditz. Raditz being great because of the fact that for its effect, you need a bit 4 less life, which you're trying to push yourself down to. All your energy's red, and your leader's red, which is why this is great, so good. And it's got that benefit of putting a card back to the bottom of your deck to draw 2, and that's very handy because with the Android 13 1-drop, it plays these 7 drops from your deck. So you want to put those back with your super combo, with your SSB Vegeta Z-Battle card, so you can have them in your deck ready to play out because it's in your hand. The red one can be playable, but it doesn't get us the best benefit without no having a Android 13 underneath it. And if the Ever 7 drop is not playable at all on your hand, so you want to put those back to the bottom of your deck. And at the bottom of the deck, they're safe, no, you're not going to draw into them, so you can then play them up for your 1-drops. So that's why this Raditz is so great. And this Android 20 is very handy in that this could be live a little bit easier. So if you can't get yourself down to 4 life, and just need something useful, this is a great super combo to still be able to trigger easier to draw a card and not worry about life total. And also as an Android, so it's more searchable, so you can get at least one searchable super combo. And also is an Android to switch out from your Z energy and stuff like that, and even to put back the recycle with your 7-drop. And as well with your Z Battle Android 14 and 15, you can even use this as a combo because you use just any Android, and it's the highest comboing Android you're probably most likely going to have in your drop. So that's why we've got that extra one. Because you just need to get 2 Z energy and you want to gain Z energy ready to Z-Awaken. Then when you're Z-Awakened, it's in life because you need either be a Z leader or have 2 or more Z energy, or have a Z battle card in play. So that's why we got that. The secret rare choice, I went with SSB Vegeta Unbridled Power because just having that ability to just not worry about having to kill your opponent, put him down to 0. You just have to put him to 1, and then this Vegeta does the job. It's very good. The only thing you have to watch out for is yellow, where if yellow has 2 energy open and you drop this, they can drop the new Sin, which would come down beforehand and then just neg this card's skills. So the turn you drop it, you can't then go ahead and use the effect to clear the board and burn a life. Then you have to hope it survives another turn, which most likely it won't. So watch out for this against yellow. Any other deck, you don't really have to worry about maybe blue with being able to attack with it, but then there's a chance it could be removed mid-combat. But yeah, there's only yellow you have to really worry about dropping this to use its burn effect, and that's what it's there for. Just to get your opponent down to 1, survive that turn after you've got them down to 1, and then drop this and kill them. Simple as. And then we've got our overall choice being, I went with Secret Identity only because I did not have access to this card, and I didn't really feel like I wanted to put Dark Broly in, because Dark Broly doesn't have combo power, and I think it did come to a point in one of the games where the combo power was actually relevant and needed, because I don't think I dropped an Overwhelm actually by Overwhelm maybe once in the webcam locals, but I don't see dropping it. I don't see myself dropping it often, and this is more relevant in being able to warp something off the board a little bit easier than Secret Identity. You got the benefits of either, but for this deck I prefer to have this one for just target removal rather than wide removal, because you got it built into the minusing, power minusing. But this is just handy to just a single target removal, and being a combo power, having combo power is just way better than Dark Broly. So yeah. And then the last card we got on the main deck is for free testing the opposition. I know people have been going for more like less of these token negates and more things like in yellow time magic, stuff like that. I would probably be tempted to put in the built-in one that allows you to take a life if you're a Z lead and then gets 1-drop Android from your drop back to hand, and maybe into stepping out depending on how the format like evolves. But so far, testing opposition just is handy because you just a 5 or less life you can use it, and it can potentially stop 2 attacks, which is just really nice. So that's the main deck. So the only changes I had was dropping down one of the TPs from 2 to 1, putting an extra copy of Android 14, and I would prefer to have the SS4 Vegeta than Secret Identity in the deck. But then we go to Z deck. So we've got the Android 13 Nightmares combination. This is a nice one, just Z-Awaken for 1 energy and 2 Z energy. When you life at 4 or less on top of red Android 13, so very easy to pull off. And it does require an energy, but then most do is only a few, I think it's like 5 or something, Z leaders that doesn't require an energy to Z-Awaken, which is mad. But yeah, just requires 1 energy, which you can always leave open, and then 2 Z energy to go into town once you get 4 or less life. And it's got a nice, his auto is now when this card attacks, attacks, you no longer have the option to draw. It's just when this card attacks, play it to one Android 14 or 15 card, both rare entry cost of 1 from your hand or you drop. So unlike actually you go from either being able to draw or play an Android 14 or 15 from your hand to now just having to play an Android 15 or 14, but you go for drop or hand. So the handy thing about this is just playing from the drop, just then play it out from drop, have it as a draw and then combo off, so you're still technically 20 offensively, which is not too bad. And at least now you're getting draw, and even if you want to play those, they're now cantrips you can play from your hand. And the thing I really like about this lead is activate battle, which is very good, which is once per turn. Place one Android 13 card, one Android 14 card, and one Android 15 card from your Z energy in the bonus drops. Draw one card, and this card gets 5k power and double strike for the turn. So that is very good because you can use it offensively or defensively. And I mean offensively because you can attack, then play out one drop, get a draw, combo with that, then use the effect to sack off 14, 13, and 15. For your Z energy to draw cards, you still draw a second card as well to draw more cards and becoming a 25k double strike with the 5k by being 20 base and then that combo 5k from the drop, which is really good. And even defensively, it's for the boosters for the turn. So defensively, you can sack off all 3 of those from your Z energy, draw an extra card defensively to try and see if you can draw into something you might need or be useful, and then be a 20k defensively, which, as we all know, with some big Z leaders like Cumber and stuff like that, is very, very good. That's a nice little benefit, and you can generate quite a lot of Z energy with this as well, especially when you drop the 7 drops to start attacking. Remember, you can get from just one of these with the Android 13 Villainous Threat, you can get free energy, free Z energy straight away with that. And remember, as you can combo 3 times, you've got an Android 13 under there from the Villainous Threat at least, and also a 14 and 15 underneath there. You can put one of each in there, ready so your ZD can use it defensively or offensively. Like the just the flexibility with the deck is just amazing. And then the other ones we have is just the SSB Vegeta for being able to manage your life. Rush attack just be amazing because you can get quite a lot of Z energy, so you can actually make this attack multiple times as well. And you've got the Goku here just to help burn some life and have just a 20k double striker as well, put some pressure on. Only 2 energy to help make use of if you can get loads of Z energy and make use of it. And then lastly, 1 copy of the Android 14 and 15 Team Up Terrors. This is just a nice 2 cost 15k that requires free Z energy, so quite expensive, but then you can generate Z energy quite easily. And it's got a little permanent where if you have a red Android card with entry cost of 7 or more in play, you can reduce this card's energy in your Z deck by 1, so making it a 1 cost 15k that just requires free Z energy. And it's got deflect, unique, dual attack, and blocker, so you can either use it as a 2 extra attacks or an attack then a blocker, which is quite good. And it's got 2 autos, both once per turn. First one is when this card attacks, use it to 1 Android card in your drop with its skill in a combo with skills sneak over the turn, and this card gains barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. That's really handy, and that is mainly handy because if you got a super combo Android 20 in your drop or a one of the 7 drops, you can then combo an extra 10k, make it 25k on that first swing. Giving it barrier, so you've got that protection as well, just to 25k with barrier to defend itself, and then another dual attack. The second one being at only 15 because the auto is only once per turn. And if you do use it as a blocker after that, you've got the benefit of being barrier because the first swing hopefully you've then triggered to have it barrier. And then the second auto being when this card activates blocker, switch to active mode, so you can make it a dual blocker as well. So nice flexibility in this deck and its Z deck as well. So that is the main core of the deck, the main Z deck. Then with the side, got a few card choices. We've got Pilaf to deal with like things like Android 21. Might help deal with blue decks that want to like abuse and get their energy back with D-Magic, making them have to consider how they're going to get their energy back if they tap out. Shu as well to help counterplay some things that you got some decks like that has a counterplays, like you got Oceanus because you can get close to decking out with this, so this being a stop things like Oceanus against like decks that want to try and mill you out with that. Or the Android 17 defending friend, stopping that from coming down, or even like for a turn 1 play to stop people from getting out there like trunks, the yellow trunks, to get out there 1 drops out using this is quite handy. You got Meki as well because going against SS4 Gogeta, you can have a problem if they drop that 8 drop, just come down, wipe your board, and then push on you at your lead. And this is kind of a nice card to help like delay that. You don't have really a way to counter that. You got 2 Kaioken as well to deal with you when you've got the in yellow with their Sin. It's got barrier, and red doesn't have the greatest form of barrier movement, just like popping things with barrier outside like a secret and stuff like that. So using this to minus it because it's only 24k to make sure it's gone before you drop your secret rare is quite handy. And then we've got Secret Identity, so you can side out Overwhelm Choice if you feel like Secret Identity is going to be better in a certain matchup. You can side that in by siding out the SS4 Vegeta. So you've got that kind of switching of the Overwhelms. You've got two Beerus Balls as well, so when you get, because you can try and put yourself down to 4 life, you can use this as a counterplay to stop things that Shu wouldn't stop. You also got one Violent Raise as well as with the cooler cooler secret rare, and that's kind of a devastating secret rare, and that just to wipe your board and start swinging, like push you to have certain Z energy, which you can kind of rip using your Z leader as well, which is quite cool. You can use that to disrupt this amount of Z energy, put some you want in there, and then allow you to make use of it. And Violent Raise is just a nice card if you have it in your hand. Just keep it as one of those and be able to stop that card from, like, stop its first attack and stop it from being attacking anymore for the turn, making it almost irrelevant that it's been dropped, and then get rid of it the next turn. Then you've got 2 Open Awakening, because this is one for if you want to deal with Topo, because in red, Topo is a great counterplay to deal with other red decks, because they haven't really got much unless they want to side in a counterplay from a different colour, like the one for black that we recently got. I can't remember the name of it. But this is a nice one because you've got the you should hopefully get the Unison down and protect it to kind of stop it from being removed to get more benefits off it. And this is a handy one just to have it as a 1-cost counterplay. May lose a life, but then that's helping you get to your Z lead and you don't mind that. To then stop their floodgate, that is quite devastating. So it's more against red and Topo whenever counterplays, like in the Android 21 when they got their floodgate, because that's a 20k 4-cost as well, which only Omen hits. And if you need it, a 3rd copy of the testing opposition, just to, if you feel like you need more token negates, having that as an option there. So that is it for the main deck. So with the turn play progression, normally you're going to want turn 1, kind of use the leader's effect, like charge your energy, use the leader's effect to switch it off to rest to find the android, and you will normally want a mulligan for one of these 1-drop. So yeah, first off the mulligan, you want a mulligan for one of these 1-drops. Maybe a Unison as well, so one of these drops a Unison, and maybe the Enter 20 super combo, and any of these Android Troops or Stoic Fists. You've got them because they're not well, the Stoic Fist not searchable. Android Troops, as soon as you awaken, you're going to be able to have them live, and just ditching and set up your 7, like the fuel for your 7-drops. So turn 1, you're going to want to play one of these 1-drops, search the everyone, get that ready, and then use these effect. Maybe take a hit if you get a hit, and on turn 2. If you've got the Unison, you want to play that, so you can switch the top 3 and then play out the other one, so you can then Awaken, have the 1 energy open, so you can drop either, maybe the Android 14, so you can kind of use it as a blocker to defend the Unison, and just start attacking, like Awaken, start attacking to kind of get your Z energy and kind of filter your deck a bit more, it's like setting up with your plays, because you'd be quite aggressive early. And if you don't have the Unison, you don't want to play one of 1-drops, the 1-drops you can get in, Awaken, then see if you get the Unison after by drawing a bit more. And if not, then drop some of your 3-drops to kind of get some pressure by attacking or some defense from them, and or maybe use some of your Z energy as well. And then for turn 3 onwards, you're gonna just wanna, just depending on what you have in hand, drop stuff. But once you get your turn 4, once you get your turn 4, that's when you want, or turn 3, depending if you go on first, second, you want to kind of put some pressure on, and usually that's gonna be in the form of playing out, hopefully from the Unison, the Android 13, using the effect to look at the top 5, grab an Android, a 3-cost or less Android, then use the effect, pay 1, because you should have your 3 energy or 4 energy open, to put 2 underneath it from the drop, Android 14 and 15, go into your 7-drop, swing with the 7-drop, minus number 25, and combo with the Android 13 off it, so it loses dual attack after first triggering dual attack to restand first. And then, combo, again, get that either to your drop or your Z energy, depending, like if you've already got an Android 13, you drop and your Z energy. If you don't, let it go to drop. And then use the villainous threat you've hopefully searched or found by them to then put under your 7-drop, grab back the Android 13 from your drop. So then you can have dual attack again, swing 2 more times with it, combo off any card you want to combo off it. You could probably combo off, depending how many you want for your Z leader effect, if you're already a Z leader, to depending Android 13 if you need that, because Android 13 is one you're least likely going to have in your Z energy, where the other one's going to be easy to have, or depending if you want to keep it on there for that protection effect. But then you can play the Android 13 out again, like hardcast it, play the 1 for it, get the search effect, then use it again, pay 1 because it's only once per turn, not limit 1, so you do it again, put 2 underneath it that you probably got there, to then drop out another Android 13, either going for the multicolor or never red one, and then swing more times and push more pressure on. And just keep applying that pressure. And every turn after, trying to keep dropping the 13, get the 7 drop out if you haven't already won by then. And if you've got the secret rare and you get them down to 1, just keep them down to 1. Just can try and defend yourself and just try and get an easy way to win by just dropping the Vegeta and ending games as well. So yeah, that is the Android 13. Hopefully that's a good explanation for it. Once again, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to comment down below and I'll answer as best I can in any questions you have. And if you've got any suggestions, feel free to drop them. It'd be nice to just get suggestions about like tech choices and things like that, or like ratios, what could be helpful or advice. Because I do like this deck, I do love my Android 13, and I do like my red deck. So that is it from me. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.